Today, I'm joined by Evelyn Freitas. She is a VP of Mortgage Lending from Guaranteed Rate Mortgage, and we're going to break it all down for you. We're talking today about the VA home loan. Join us.
Thanks for having me today, Sharon. So my name's Evelyn Freitas. I'm with Guaranteed Rate. As Sharon said, I've been doing mortgages since 2004. I work with all types of people looking to buy or refinance their homes. And one of my favorite programs is the VA loan program because of its flexibility. I think it is somewhat misunderstood. And so I'm really happy to have a chance to talk about that a little bit and help people understand how they can utilize this program to bring about more home ownership and to help our veterans.
Yeah, and that's why I wanted to bring you on. One of the things I've seen repeatedly is people who have earned that VA benefit, so our veterans or even our active military, our career military, being discouraged from using it, saying, being told that, well, in this tough seller's market, you're not as likely to have your offer accepted, et cetera, et cetera. However, it's a benefit that's been earned, and it is actually a program that is probably better in a lot of ways than your conventional loan programs, competes very well. And if you've earned that benefit, definitely one worth taking advantage of. But can we start by dispelling some of the common myths that are out there with regard to the VA loan?
Sure. Okay. So I think one of the things I hear the most often is that it's more difficult because there are closing costs that the veteran cannot pay. Mm-hmm. And so that idea that there are costs in there that the veteran can't pay, I think that scares people off from it. With the idea that maybe it's the seller who has to pay those costs instead. Mm-hmm. That's not the case. Anybody but the veteran can pay those costs. So that's myth number one. The lender can give credit towards them. A real estate agent or a realtor can give credit. There's all kinds of ways to make those costs work. I think, so one thing to watch out for on a VA loan, which I think a lot of people actually misunderstand, is that in a high pest area, which California is one, a pest inspection is going to be required on any VA loan. And the Section 1 portion of that is going to have to be cleared at closing.
Okay.
I think that scares a lot of people off. However, the fact of the matter is there are a lot of sellers right now who are fixing everything on their property before they put it on the market. And so it's no longer an issue for certain properties. So I think it's incumbent upon those of us who work in real estate to understand this program and be able to know when it is an appropriate program and how to use it to help veterans use that benefit. I mean, it is the quickest benefit, I think, that a veteran can take advantage of, and also one of the largest from a dollar amount perspective.
Right.
Our veterans have done so much for us. I feel like we really owe it to them to help them take advantage of this benefit and figure out how.
Absolutely.
It's not rocket science.
Right. And, and to your points, you make an excellent point. Even though it's been a strong seller's market, we're still knowing that if we really want to get market value, people are talking about, especially here in the Bay Area, all the competition, people bidding way over the, asking amount, on a property. But when you go into those properties that are really getting those high bids, even though some sell as is, the majority of sellers are, in fact, getting their homes ready. They're cleaning them up. They're getting inspections in advance. They're taking care of repairs in advance. They really want to make it a very easy transaction. And so in a lot of ways, and this is something too that I often will do, if we get these inspections up front, we can be alerted of what needs to be addressed at the property so that the seller can make a determination of what things they want to remedy and what things they want to leave for the buyer. And then they can be completely transparent and disclose that up front. So that's a really good point. So if you want to, maybe avoid the potential of there being an issue with a Section 1 item, getting those pre-inspections, and then as a seller, just saying, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and remedy these now. That's going to help on many levels, whether you're working with a VA buyer or not. So on that's one thing, I wanted to kind of address. So I like that you brought that up. The other thing that I'd like to ask you to, maybe if it's possible to elaborate a little bit. So you talk about there's certain closing costs that the veteran cannot pay. Can you give an example of what some of those closing costs are?
Sure. Okay. So the seller has to pay real estate commissions, any brokerage fees, and the termite report cost.
Oh, okay. All right.
Okay. And then beyond that, we can pretty much work with everything else.
Okay.
Sellers can actually contribute towards closing costs as well.
Right now, is there a cap on that though? Yeah, I thought so. Yeah. Right.
Yeah, it's 4%. However, that 4% can be added to for some reasonable and customary other costs, like for instance, discount points.
Okay.
Oh, so if you had a really motivated seller who wanted to give more credit than 4%, we can always use that additional credit to help the borrower get a lower rate on the loan.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, that's great. Yeah, so I just thought that would be helpful. And again, so kind of tying back to what I had just elaborated on a moment ago, nowadays a lot of sellers are already getting that pest report up front. And so those are things that are already paid for before they even go to market. So, okay, now let's talk a bit about how a person will know if they qualify to use a VA loan. I know the first question I generally ask people who approach me to purchase a home is, are you a veteran or are you military? Right. Because I want to be able to find out if they are planning to take advantage of the VA loan benefit, or if they're even aware that they can use that benefit. Because it's, again, especially here in the Bay Area, I think a lot of people feel like the housing costs are so expensive here that they wouldn't be able to take advantage of that benefit and be able to use it here in the Bay Area.
Right. But the thing is, they can. And so VA loans, actually now we have jumbo VA loans that go all the way up to $2 million.
I love that they got rid of that limit.
Yes, I do too. So, it's a great program all around, and it's not that hard to qualify for. I would say the first step would be to get your discharge papers out, and then to contact the VA for your certificate of eligibility. We also have a portal that we can use to assist you with getting your certificate of eligibility if that's something that you need help with.
Okay.
The length of service that's required to be eligible for a VA loan will range from 90 days to 24 months, depending on the period during which the person was in service and the branch.
Okay.
Right? So even something that's not commonly known is that people who are in the National Guard or reserves can also qualify for VA benefits after a certain period of service. Okay.
Great.
So first step is to find out about your eligibility. And if you need help with that, let us know. If a veteran is already in a VA loan, like let's say you already own your home with a VA loan and you're looking to sell your home and purchase a new home with a VA loan, some people have questions about restoring their eligibility, right? They're using their eligibility on a house they own. How do they restore that eligibility quickly? That's a question that we can help you with, but it really only takes about a day.
Yeah.
Right? That's another misconception, that it could take up to a week. And it's just not true. So I would say those are the first things to do. Check out your eligibility. If you have questions about that, it's something that you can always check in with me on. And we'll also want a copy of your discharge papers, which is the form DD 214.
Okay. Okay. And then in terms of a VA buyer, because I know you've been working with a lot of veteran buyers or VA buyers competing in this market, what in what ways are they able to compete with the conventional loans? And well, there's always that competition with, a cash buyer. There's not a whole lot you can do with that unless the seller is not, completely sold out to just taking a cash only offer. But again, I think that's a big concern, is that, well, we're going to be competing against these conventional loans in terms of, days to closing, although I know right now, I mean, that's becoming more challenging anyway, because appraisals are taking a while to come in. So, but in terms of like how many, days to close, things along those lines that make them compete more competitive with your conventional loans.
Right. So the appraisal is the thing that takes the longest, and the appraisal process is a little bit different on a VA loan than on a conventional loan. We're ordering that valuation through a particular VA portal. It takes about 10 days to get the appraisal back from when we order it, and then another 3 days for it to be approved through the portal. So I would say if you are purchasing a home with a VA loan, you want to be allowed at least 14 days to get the appraisal done.
Okay.
That being said, we have been closing VA loans in 21 days, which is super quick, so we are competing with conventional loans. And here's what I'd say. Okay, a VA borrower can borrow up to 100% of the price of the property, correct? Or the value. Yes. There's nothing stopping somebody from putting down money if they like, correct? So in being able to compete with other buyers, I feel like a veteran home buyer actually has more options available to them than a similarly qualified conventional borrower, because they have that option of being able to go up to 100% of the value of the property. There's no mortgage insurance. Therefore, more of their income that they're earning can go to the principal and interest, right? So your dollar goes farther on a payment on a VA loan than it does on a conventional loan. So I would say from the borrower side, there's no question that you're very competitive.
Yeah.
From the seller side, I think sellers are concerned about things going very quickly right now, and about people being able to buy with no contingencies whatsoever.
Right.
I feel like on a VA loan, we're going to want to be more careful with that to make sure that any assets that are required could be taken care of and taken into account if an appraisal comes in low.
Right.
However, that is of concern to any home buyer out there right now in this market, right?
Right.
So, yeah, from the seller perspective, I would say, you want to understand your own property and know that it's going to pass those inspections.
Right.
But anybody working with an experienced realtor selling their home is going to be educated on those things, and I would think would know them in advance.
Right. Yeah. And that's actually, because this will kind of segue us into some of the other aspects that make it beneficial for a veteran to take advantage of a VA loan program. You mentioned no mortgage insurance, which is great, because again, then it doesn't throw their debt to income ratio off because of that extra cost that in some cases, depending on the lender, I mean, that could be an extra $200 to $300 a month or more, depending on what the cost of the mortgage insurance is on that loan. So that's freeing up money right there, that can be put toward principal and interest. And then also the interest rates, from what I've heard, tend to be a bit more competitive. Did you want to speak to that at all?
Yes, I would say that the interest rates on VA loans tend to track, I would say, from 1/4 of a percentage point to maybe 3/8 of a percentage point lower than on a conventional loan. So there's a double benefit there, right? There's no mortgage insurance.
Yeah.
The interest rate is lower. So your borrowing dollar can go farther. You have much more buying power.
Right. And then one thing, though, veterans should be aware of, but I mean, it depends on their status, but there is a VA loan fee. But then, again, they can go in 100%. So it's still not the same as bringing in a huge down payment. But then if they're disabled, then that's a fee that gets waived. Can you touch on that a little bit?
Sure. Yeah. Right. It's called a funding fee. It's similar to the upfront mortgage insurance that somebody would pay on an FHA loan. The funding fee varies from, I think it's from around 2% up to 3.15%, depending on whether it is your first use of VA benefits on a mortgage or not, and the term of your loan.
Okay.
a borrower, a veteran who is disabled and in a service-related disability would be exempt from that funding fee. And so I've worked with many borrowers who have been able to finance 100% of the property, no funding fee, no mortgage insurance. The funding fee can be financed into the loan amount as well. So even though there is that funding fee and it's a closing cost, the veteran does not have to bring that cash in to the closing table. It gets added to the loan amount if the veteran has to pay it.
Right. Oh, that's wonderful. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Yeah. See, I mean, and again, I think these are a lot of things that people, just don't realize about, the benefit of using this program if they have the eligibility to do so. Is there anything else that, I may have missed asking you about the program?
Just a couple things that I want to mention. So the program is set up for veterans and their spouses.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Okay. Now, a veteran can buy with other family members other than their spouse who are not veterans. It'll just trigger a situation where there will be a down payment required.
Okay.
That would be brought in by the non-veteran borrowers to make up their part of the guarantee that the VA covers for the veteran.
Okay.
And so you can get into a situation, I would say a rule of thumb would be, if you're doing that, you may end up with a down payment of around 12%.
Okay.
To make that math work.
Okay.
A veteran and their spouse, the spouse does not have to be a veteran. They will qualify for a VA loan. And these loans are also for primary residences.
Right.
They're not for investment properties. Right. That's another important thing to note.
But primary residence is up to 4 unit, right? Up to multifamily, up to 4 unit, right? Okay.
You can go up to
4
4
units. You live in, one of them. Okay.
And then you can use the rental income from the other units to help defray the cost of your own mortgage. So that's fantastic. And let me just think for a second if there's anything else. Oh, okay. A couple things. So guaranteed rate is very invested in promoting VA loans. So I've been with Guaranteed Rate since 2019. The whole time I've been there, we have waived our lender fees on VA loans.
Okay.
So our underwriting and application fee, we waive those for veterans. So that's about $1,150 right there.
Okay, that's great to know.
That the veteran doesn't have to pay. And one other thing, so in this situation, the veteran doesn't have to make a down payment, but there would be some closing costs that they would be responsible for if the seller didn't give credit. There are some down payment assistance programs available. For instance, in California, we have Cal HFA.
Right.
They have a VA down payment assistance program that a veteran can apply for to help cover the closing costs as well. So I want to make sure that people know that if you feel like, well, gee, I could afford the monthly payment, but I don't know if I have enough money for the closing costs. It's something that we'd certainly like to look into to really figure out how the numbers would work.
Yeah, that's great to know.
Yeah.
Okay. And then what about the case? And because this is kind of personal. So I have a past client who, at the time when they were purchasing their home, for whatever reason, they were having a difficult time with, she had eligibility, but they were having some difficulty actually getting the VA loan. So they had to go with a conventional. But if they wanted to refinance into a VA, I know it's going to sound weird asking, well, how would that work? But I mean, is that, because I know they're streamlined, but streamlined refinances are usually like a like for like product. Is that correct? Right.
Yeah,
so if they have go ahead.
That's a great question. So first of all, you can buy with a conventional loan and then refinance into a VA loan. If you do that, you are actually going to have to do the PEST report on your refinance and clear the Section 1. Okay, so that's one thing to know. And then the thing I also think is not so great about that is you're going to pay closing costs on both of those loans, right? Okay, yeah. So it can be done if you have your heart set on a house and that's what it takes to get it. I would say you did what you had to do to get the house that you wanted to buy. I would also say this to whoever is saying that a VA loan is too hard for that transaction. Can we talk? I believe that we in real estate would be well served and be serving our community well if we shifted the dialogue a little bit, instead of discouraging this type of loan, to figure out if the offer that's being made on that specific property, will it work? How can we make it work?
Right.
Here's how fast we can get it done, to demonstrate that these loans are nothing to be afraid of. In fact, they are to be embraced and utilized fully.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I agree. I mean, I'm a veteran wife, so I mean, definitely, you know, the VA loan is definitely a program that we would take advantage of because it's just such a great program. I've used it in the past. I think I shared the story with you before, how in the past we had an agent that was discouraging us, telling us that, you know, you're not going to be able to compete. And this was back in the late 90s, before the Fair Housing of California added veterans to the protected class. But back then it turned out that the agent who was telling us that, well, no, you don't want to do that because sellers don't like VA. Well, it turned out this seller was a veteran. And so that actually worked in our favor, that we were coming with a VA loan because the veteran wanted to pay it forward, so to speak, to help another veteran get a home, you know. And that's where, you know, right now we actually do have to be careful because they did add veteran status as a protected class here in the state of California. You know, we have to be really careful about how we go about promoting, you know, hey, this is a VA buyer, because we can't, I guess, discriminate, you know, even if they're a veteran. But I still ask a buyer that comes to me if they are a veteran, because I want them to know that this is a program that's available to them. And so I just really appreciate you coming and sharing this with me. I know we were kind of like on the fly here, you know. I always like these conversations to be organic, and so I'm just like, well, what else do I want to ask? Was there anything else? Did I miss anything as far as you can think of?
There's nothing else that I can think of right now. I just think let's just figure out how to make this loan program work to help our veterans. You know, when I hear people say that sellers are shying away from VA loans, well, where did they get that idea from?
Right.
And so
I have an idea.
There's no blame there. It's just like, let's educate ourselves as to what's really going on to help our community and help our veteran community. Right.
And I mean, and this is especially, again, for here in the Bay Area, it's such a great program to help veterans have an opportunity to be able to be homeowners here in the Bay Area. Now that the limits that were in place before have been lifted, it really opens up more opportunity for veterans to take advantage of the loan program on, you know, in a higher price community like here in the San Francisco Bay Area. So yeah, well, I'm excited. I think like I told you, I'm going to give you a little plug. You know, I did a few deals, you know, where I was working the transaction side with guaranteed rate, and I mean, mind was blown. And one of them was actually was one of them a VA. One of them, I think, was a VA transaction. So yeah. So I've seen some great VA transactions take place, and it's always so rewarding to see those our heroes, you know, have that opportunity. And actually that kind of brings me, I'll put my sweatshirt I have on. I specifically wore my Homes for Heroes sweatshirt. And that is one of the groups that we give a hero's reward to, is our military, whether they're active duty, reserves, veterans. This is a rewards program that gives back to them. So this is a program that could also go toward helping with closing costs, or just give them cash back after the close of escrow. So well,
that's fantastic.
Yeah. No, it's exciting to be able to do it too. So I want to thank you so much for joining me today. And if anyone, you know, wants to reach out to Evelyn and learn more about VA program, if you qualify, her contact information is right below her picture. So feel free to give her a call or send her an email. And if you need to reach me, if you have any questions with regard to the Bay Area real estate market, you can call me at the number below. So thank you again, and we'll see you in the next conversation.
Thanks, Sharon.
Yeah, thanks.